Cool shoes. My brother would love those.
Ooh, I don't share my sources.
Well, I just found them using Circle to search with Google on my new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6.
What?
And I texted them to my brother on the other side of this massive screen.
Where did you get that phone?
Lucky for you, I don't gatekeep my sources. Tell them.
Get your own Galaxy Z Fold 6 now at Samsung.com. Requires internet connection. Results may vary by uniqueness, clarity, and framing of circled image and related factors.
Hello, fellow gamers. Welcome to another episode of the Video Gamers Podcast. Today we are breaking down recent gaming news over the last 7 days. Please remember to rate our show 5 stars, follow us on socials everywhere at Video Gamers Pod, and if you like what we do and want to help the show and keep it running, you can sign up on Patreon for some great perks. Starts at $5 a month. Go check it out at multiplayersquad.com. I am your host, Paul, and if you didn't hear on the Black Myth Wukong deep dive, my time for hosting this show is quickly coming to an end. My last episode will be next Monday. If you want, you can go back and listen to the first few minutes to hear all the details. Joining me today, I think that he might be feeling a little jealous right now, maybe wishing he had a PlayStation 5 this week. It's Josh. He looks sad, but
he looks so sad.
I don't like either one of you. Wait, I take that back. I love both of you, but whoever lends me their PS5 first, I love more.
Oh, they're higher on your leaderboard.
Yes.
We have the power.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
I'm just saying, no, I don't want you guys to rush or anything, but...
Don't worry, I won't be.
Dang it.
And then joining Josh and me, at the time this podcast releases, you can probably find him and me downloading Astro Bot for preload. It's Ryan.
Oh, man, you better believe it. My son was asking me today. We're counting down the days, and I walked in, and he was playing, and he said, I'm getting my skills up for Astro Bot, Dad.
That's awesome. You got to get him ready as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And once again, Josh is looking a little bit mad and a lot sad. Oh, so jealous. So, guys, let's start with Astro Bot, all right? It is scheduled for release tomorrow, the day this episode releases. And this week we got a launch trailer. We also got a behind-the-scenes video that highlighted some of the crafted gameplay. I think that we're all on the same page here, and I'll ask you guys in a second, but I think we all agree that this is one of those rare games that just seems to get it. It seems like they understand what gamers want, and they seem to be delivering it in spades. I mean, I'm talking the music is killer, the animation style, the tempo, the gameplay. It just seems to have that it factor from what I can tell. Do you guys agree?
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Unfortunately for you, Josh.
I really agree. Very, very vehemently, guys. A lot.
Yeah, with all that gameplay you've had, in the playroom.
Dude, okay, so here's the thing. This might come across as sounding a little crazy, right? Because we have Astro Bot coming out on September 6th, and then Space Marine 2 coming out September 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is like forbidden fruit syndrome or something, but I might actually be more excited to get my hands on Astro Bot than I am to get into Space Marine 2.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, and there's a whole bunch of people that are being like, what did you guys do with Josh? Josh loves Space Marine 2 shooter co-op stuff, and it's I do, and I'm very excited about that. But after this last round of gameplay footage that we saw for Astro Bot, it hits all the right cylinders, man. Everything just looks great about this game. And not only that, but it's like a 3D platformer. So it's almost like that nostalgia throwback to a lot of the games that we grew up with and played a lot of. And I don't know, man, this game just looks fantastic. And I really want to play it. And I need one of you to lend me your PS5.
Or you can just finally go get a PS5.
No, because it's the PS5 is at the end of its life, man. I'm not going to spend $300 on a PS5 and then $60 on Astro Bot so that I can play this one game.
Don't worry, we'll finish up with it in about 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know how long the game is either.
It should be
Yeah,
decent.
we'll have to wait and see.
I just know, I mean, you mentioned nostalgia, Josh. That's what's so cool about this, because just in the playroom, there's a whole archive area where you see all the different Sony systems, attachments, like the VR headsets, the weird controllers, all this stuff that they came out, the PS1 Slims, all of these things are in this little room, so you get nostalgia from there. I played a ton of Astro's Playroom. We have all the puzzle pieces. We're doing so much with this, so I am beyond excited for this. Like you said, the platformer aspect of it, the nostalgia, it lends itself to speed running. You can do these little racetrack trial runs, and it lends itself to like world rankings with speed runs. Just everything. The levels look amazing. The way the environment and everything reacts to you as well, like the way you just pulling down a zipper on this kind of container, it just is so satisfying. Everything about the game is just satisfying, and I've yet to meet anyone to say a negative thing about it so far. It's one of those that just hits, like you said, on all cylinders.
And in that behind the scenes video, they talked about how gameplay is everything, especially when it comes to platformers. I couldn't agree more. And it just seems like they focused so much on such a well-polished, responsive product. Like they talked about how when you press a button, it should respond immediately. And it seems like they're kind of capitalizing on what made Mario so popular for so long. I mean, those games were always responsive and quick and well-tempoed. And I feel like this is finally... We're getting that here from Sony. All right, moving on, because we're actually going to cover quite a few news stories here today. It's always kind of fun when we have like 6 things that we want to hit.
I thought this was
Rapid
the
fire,
Astro Bot
baby.
hype episode. What? You guys tricked me, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it can be. I got a lot more to say about
I
it.
know.
you can bring it up next week when we know what the
All
critic
right,
ratings
fair.
are and
It's
it's
gonna
going to
be
get to
good.
play.
It's going to be good.
I think so too. I would not be shocked if this is like a 92 on Metacritic.
It might
something
be.
like that.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Everything I saw looks phenomenal.
I think it's going to be a dark horse for one of the big ones this year, for sure.
I think you're right. All right, so Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Josh brought it up just a minute ago. That game releases in 4 days.
I can't wait for that game. Wow, yeah. What a time to be alive.
Another
Yeah.
one.
Josh, you only got 3 days of FOMO with Astro
I
Bot, and then
know.
you're going to be eyeballs deep
Slaying
in Space
aliens,
Marine 2.
man. Or Tyranids. That sounds way too close to the Terminids from Helldivers 2.
Helldivers, yeah, very similar. So I think it's safe to say that Space Marine 2 and Astro Bot are like our 2 most anticipated for the rest of the year. So this is kind of like our Christmas from here on out. This week, Focus Entertainment gave us a roadmap for upcoming content all the way through the end of 2025. There are a lot of promises for a lot of free content. I think all 3 of us had a chance to review it. I don't want to sound too jaded, but anytime I see roadmaps like this, I do always take it with a little bit of a grain of salt because I've played so many games where the roadmaps kind of just get thrown out the window the second the game comes out. I mean, heck, even Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, they had their whole roadmap and all that kind of got thrown out the window as well. So taking a look here at what we're supposed to get with Space Marine 2, is there anything in particular that stands out to you guys?
Nope.
No?
Okay, the reason I say
Do we
that
really
is
care, I guess?
that's my point. Every game has a roadmap. Every game is like, oh, look at all this content that we're going to bring you. And listen, I just mentioned Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 did it better than just about anybody for the first few months of release with that drip of content that they were giving you with new creatures, new enemy types, new planets, new mission types, new guns, war bonds. I mean, it was just this perfect drip of content. But at some point, you're just going to hit the wall of like, I've played this game, all I want to play this game. And that's not anything against the video game itself. It just is like, hey, I've got 120 hours into this game. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. You know, that's exactly what's going to happen with Space Marine 2. Like, I applaud them for having these plans, but does it really matter? Like, are any of us going to go back to Helldivers 2 until they have that major update where they release Illuminate? That's it.
No, I won't be going back before that.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my whole point, right? Is you can have all this roadmap and this little, we're going to have a new mission type and all this stuff. But it's like, dude, if I've already played the game at that point, this stuff isn't really going to draw me back in.
Yeah. No, it's hard, but I am it is exciting to see because unlike Suicide Squad, I think this is going to be a great game. So it is cool to kind of see what lies ahead for something that I think is going to hit well. But yeah, I'm anticipation through the roof. I'm just ready for Christmas to be here.
Yeah, it is interesting to see. Like, I guess maybe a lot of people knew this. I haven't followed Space Marine too terribly close, but I guess there's like no ultra wide support at release because that's on the roadmap being added later in September. We do see that they're going to add private PvE lobbies. I was a little surprised. I feel like that's something you should probably have at release, but I guess better sooner than later. It's season 3 in 2025 that has like all the promises.
Yeah.
They're saying a new PvE mission, new PvP game modes, new PvP arenas, a new enemy, PvE prestige ranks, a battle barge expansion. I guess that'll kind of be the real test. I guess when I see that, it sounds to me like they're assuming people are going to stick around for like 6-7 months, and then they're going to hit you with a bunch of content in season 3. So I know we're all looking forward to it. I don't think the roadmap is necessarily going to change our play style. We're going to play it until we're sick of it, and then we're going to quit. Maybe we'll check back in down the road once or twice and then quit again. We did the same with Valheim, Satisfactory. We do the same with all these games.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. Is it's like it's good that the game is actively being like loved on and developed, but after the initial launch, this stuff is minimal. I don't know if that's drawing in new people. Like, I could see somebody waiting till 2025 to pick it up, but for everybody that's super excited about this game and buying it day one, I'm not sure this stuff really matters.
Well, the trick is if they're able to pace it with the release of the new content, just when people are starting to kind of get burnt down on what's already there, that's what's really going to hit. So, but
yeah, finding that right balance and the right timing. All right. So by the time that this episode releases, I think this news will be a little bit over a week old, but that's all right. We haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. We did get an Indie World Showcase and Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase at the end of August. I don't know about you guys. I felt pretty underwhelmed by pretty much all of it. It seems like a lot of these directs lately, other than like Zelda or something like that, it's been a lot of remasters and like collections of old games. I mean, as much as I love Castlevania, I don't know that I'm going to get super excited about like a new collection of Castlevania games on Switch. I thought it was kind of neat. We saw a little bit of like Civ 7, although I would never dream of playing that game on a Switch. To me, that is a PC game for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I will say the one thing that did kind of make me chuckle and smile a little bit is the fact that SpongeBob, the Patrick Star game, got covered here. I don't think it's something I would buy, but I love SpongeBob. I love the character of Patrick, so getting to see him run around creating a bunch of chaos in a physics sandbox game. I mean, it's basically Goat Simulator Patrick Star edition. I mean, did you guys find this one to be interesting?
I thought it looked really good. But that's also because like I got forced to play SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, and then really, really enjoyed that game. And this just looked like it was like a continuation of that. And so I was kind of like, ooh, I like this game, and this just seemed like it was more of that. I will say this Nintendo Direct was more like Nintendo Direct because it was literally just remakes, dude. I mean, I kept waiting for that banger of a game announcement or something. And I was just like, this is all just remakes. This is just remakes or collections of old games that are now going to be playable on the Switch. Like, why do you have a Direct for this, man? That didn't make any sense to me. So I don't mean to sound negative, but like, this one was bad.
I don't need to sound negative, but here's negative things.
Yeah, here's a negative thing about what are you doing, Nintendo?
Yeah.
Step up your game.
It did look fun. It just looked like a kind of a funny, goofy game. Cool to be Patrick instead of SpongeBob per the usual, but it is funny to see Nickelodeon's making better games than TV shows now.
Oh, yeah. I think you're definitely right.
Yeah.
I do wonder if there's an element of Nintendo almost holding back with the Switch 2 on the horizon. So, I mean, I know that we got like Breath of the Wild was the last game released on the Wii U and stuff like that. But I do almost wonder if it's a little bit of, hey, let's just hold off on any major announcements so that way we can say, here's the Switch 2 and here's 2 or 3 flagship games that are coming up around the corner. So I wouldn't be shocked if we're not going to get a ton of Nintendo news until, we know more with Switch 2 stuff coming up.
You're so smart, Paul.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? But the Patrick Star game will be here on October 4th. So we always say we love these release schedules by Nintendo. Here's the game, and it's out in less than a month. It seems like if nothing else, you'll get a lot of mayhem and silliness. I don't know that this is going to provide like 40 hours of entertainment, but I could definitely see picking up this game, playing it for a week, having a blast, and probably just never touching it again. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Cool shoes. My brother would love those.
Ooh, I don't share my sources.
Well, I just found them using Circle to search with Google on my new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6.
What?
And I texted them to my brother on the other side of this massive screen.
Where did you get that phone?
Lucky for you, I don't gatekeep my sources. Tell them.
Get your own Galaxy Z Fold 6 now at Samsung.com. Requires internet connection. Results may vary by uniqueness, clarity, and framing of circled image and related factors.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year, and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
All right, guys, moving into our next story. This is a little bit of a weird one. All right, so Risk of Rain 2. I think it's fair to say it's one of our most beloved games here at the Video Gamers Podcast.
Oh my goodness, fantastic. If you have not played Risk of Rain 2, this is yet again another reminder. Grab a friend or two and pick this game up. You will absolutely have a blast.
I just took a quick look on our website. What do you think our consensus score for Risk of Rain 2 is?
8.8.
It's really close.
8.6.
It's an 8.9.
Oh.
It's one of our highest rated games.
Wow.
I mean, we love Risk of Rain 2.
Really good.
It's great.
So they released a new DLC, which I think kind of perked our ears a little bit. This got brought up in our Discord, and it's called Seekers of the Storm. And unfortunately, it's sitting at a 20% rating on Steam. Everyone seems to hate it. It seems to be a complete mess. So let's give a little bit of background here. Risk of Rain 2 was developed by Hapu Games, and then they were the original developer. And then in 2022, they ended up selling the rights to all of Risk of Rain 2 to Gearbox, the people who make Borderlands. And so this is the first DLC that was put out by Gearbox all on their own. What happened here, guys? What do you think went wrong? It seems almost impossible to screw up Risk of Rain 2.
Corporate greed went wrong, Paul. Just
Yeah,
like
you
it
think
always
so?
does with these games and these expansions. And, we're going to take a beloved game like Risk of Rain 2, and we're going to turn it into a live service or like crank out some crappy DLC. I mean, listen, when I know like this is old man Josh being grouchy about these, terrible news stories and stuff. But it's like, listen, when the developer comes out and says, "What did you do to my beloved game?"
Oh, yeah.
You know that there's something going on there. And on top of that, I mean, look at the review score. This is gamers speaking and saying, dude, how did you mess this up?
Yeah, it's Risk of Bugs DLC.
Oh boy, we're bringing in some bad puns in this.
The puns are flowing today.
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
I had to.
Well, and this is a $15 DLC too. This is not like a $4.99 thing. Like $15 for what seems to be a steaming pile of dog poo is no good.
Well, and what's crazy too is they're forcing the update, the DLC patch to everybody. And it was with good intentions to where non-DLC players could still play with people who had the DLC purchased. But now it gave all the people without it all those same issues and problems. So it's just a big mess. There's actually the modders have made some different mods to backtrack like the patch stuff so that you don't have to have all the issues.
Yeah, the thing is too is that there was the what was it, Survivors of the Void? What was the DLC that came out? I can't remember.
Survivors of the Void, I believe.
Yeah, something of the Void. And that DLC was great. Like, we played it. It was a lot of fun. It was just more of what we loved. And then it's like, then Gearbox gets a hold of it, says, okay, cool, well, we're going to make a DLC now. And it's terrible. I mean, this just I don't want to like slam the devs on that, but I have a feeling that this is much more like Gearbox coming out and saying, hey, we need to make some money off of Risk of Rain 2. We spent all this money to buy it. And then they just completely lost the passion. We talk about this all the time, where when you have indie devs that are super passionate about something, it comes through. And then when you get a big corporation that starts stepping in, all they care about is monetization and money, right? And the passion is gone. Here is yet another example of that. I mean, there's a reason that we bring it up, but here you go. You know, it's just proves the point all over again.
Yeah. I really had to laugh at the response of Gearbox's CEO. So Randy Pitchford came out and said that he was super, super proud of this DLC. And he basically said that he's happy to be the pincushion. The buck stops with him. But he also said at the same time, don't be a hater. And I was like, dude, this is not just people hating. Like, you screwed up the product. I mean, I've read accounts where people said, I stood on top of an item and it just kept adding it to me permanently. And I stood there until I had like over 1,000 of the same item.
At that point, yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's stuff like this going on in the game. Like, this is not being a hater. You know, it's actual criticism of taking a step back. But yeah, it was very sad to see the original programmers say, my poor baby. And that's all the response said on Discord.
Yeah. So listen, anyway, all that being said, don't let that put you off from playing Risk of Rain 2. You don't have to buy that DLC, and the game right up to that with the Survivors of the Void DLC is phenomenal. So do yourself a favor and have a good time with this game.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like when, you have those awesome movies and then like 10 years later they come with like they're gonna make a sequel and you're like, no,
yeah,
leave it alone.
We're fine with our memories of this movie. Yeah, exactly.
The Matrix.
Yeah.
That's the first one that comes to mind. All right, so let's move on here. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, I'm still very skeptical on this game. I have not been shy in saying that. I'm not really a believer in this one.
Hater.
You two are
hater.
Hater. I'll take it. You guys are a little bit higher on it than me. I don't think you guys are like crazy hyped, I think you.
I'm cautiously. I am cautiously optimistic that this will be better than I think it's going to be.
Better than the last Indiana Jones movie.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Oh man. Okay. Well, that's a very low bar, Paul. So it's got to be better than that.
I certainly hope so. All right. So PC Gamer reported that the game will have a healthy dose of puzzle solving, which I love to hear. I love puzzles in my games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider, stuff like that. They did say that the puzzles will be designed to challenge us, but they did not want players breaking immersion by pausing the game when there are difficult puzzles to go check on Google or YouTube. So basically their solution to this, which I thought was interesting because other games have already addressed this issue in a certain way. What they decided is that if you get stuck on a puzzle, you will be able to take a picture of that puzzle in the game, and then Indiana Jones will give you hints and tell you what to do to solve the puzzle. So does this sound to you guys like a good solution to puzzle difficulty? Or does it kind of sound like they're almost trying to solve a problem that doesn't even really exist? Because that was kind of my initial response.
I think the thing for me on this is, are the puzzles actually challenging? Because how many games have we seen where God of War is a good example, right? Like there's puzzle elements in God of War, one of my favorite game of all time. And it's like, those puzzles are pretty simple. Like maybe you have to look around a little bit, but the actual like thinking element is not that challenging. And it's funny because they even kind of reference the, what we don't want to do is have you walk into a room with your, your NPC sidekick or whatever, and then be like, hey, look at that wheel over there. I bet if we can turn that wheel, it'll open up that gate. And once we open up that gate, we can pull that lever and that'll let us out of here. And so they kind of mock that, and which I appreciate. But you can talk about the puzzles and you can talk about the hints for the puzzles. But if your puzzles just really aren't that difficult anyway, then like you really shouldn't need a hint system. But I do like how they're approaching it with this, hey, it's there if you need it, but if you don't need it, we're not going to help you out. Like, I do think that's a good system.
Yeah, it is good. I always notice on sometimes on Tomb Raider, I think it was, I'd be in a room and before I even really start to look around, and it's like, oh, I need to get to that ledge. And I'm like, oh, come on, give me a second to look before you start telling me where to go, So I do like this option where you have the opportunity to figure it out. And then if you need help, you're still in the game. And then you have your character helping you along, which, like they said, keeps the immersion. So Yeah, I like it. And I'm probably the most excited for this. I'm a archaeology and history nerd, so this has got my hype meter up a little bit.
Yeah. I do like the idea of your character or an NPC giving you hints at a puzzle as long as the timing is correct.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one thing that Tomb Raider did tinker with over time, where depending on your difficulty, that changes how quickly they give you hints or if they give any at all. So if you play like the more modern Tomb Raiders at higher difficulty, they don't give you any tips. And if you put it all the way at the lowest, they'll give you the hints right away. I think Uncharted sometimes did that too, where they're a little quick to give you the tips or to like highlight something and make the camera pan in on it. Like you don't necessarily need that, but I have trouble believing the puzzles are going to be that hard. I feel like puzzles in general have become so much easier. Like Hellblade 2, I don't even know if you can call them puzzles.
No.
Like it really is just pick up a rock and move it over here and you're good.
Click this bubble, click that bubble.
Yeah, I actually want them to be more challenging.
I do too.
Is also my other take.
That's my thing. That's kind of why I bring up, like, in my perfect world, this indie game is like you're looking at hieroglyphics and it's like you have to find the ones that help you translate them, or like a cryptograph or something like that. It's like, that's a puzzle. Like the other thing is just like, this is a distraction. Oh, I got to go move this rock, put it in this pedestal. Like you said, Hellblade 2, like that was way too simple at that point to where it was almost just like a time suck, because it's like, well, this isn't challenging my brain right now. It's just making me spend 10 more minutes inside this cave.
Yeah. I want it to be like in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, where I think he's in the library and he's got his dad's diary and he's looking for the numbers, whatever they are, like 3, 7, and 10 or whatever. And he's looking around. It's like 3, 3, 3, 7, 7, 7, 10, 10. And then there's the 10 where X marks the spot on the ground. And that's where you go enter into the catacombs. Having little puzzles like that would be a lot of fun. I just don't want them to be so simple that it's almost preposterous. Like the idea is that the puzzles should be hard. Otherwise, other treasure hunters would have solved it a long time ago. So it's a fine balance, but I feel like overall they've made puzzles so easy just to cater to the lowest common denominator, if you will.
Back in our day, puzzles were hard.
Yeah, you had to call a 1-800 number and get hints that you had to pay for.
What was that website? Game FAQs? Was that
oh, sure. Yeah. GameFAQs.com. Yeah, you can still go there. All right, let's move into our last story of the week. So GameStop announced on Twitter that they are overhauling certain GameStop stores that are going to be fitted as retro stores. They are going to be stocking and selling retro consoles and games. So this is one of those things that I think sounds like a lot of fun the second you hear it. I don't know that it's going to be financially viable. Like, it's a little hard for me to imagine this is going to drum up a lot of business, but I like the idea in theory. I just can't imagine they're going to make much money. What was your guys' reaction to this news?
Dude, okay. I will preface this by saying I'm not much of a retro gamer. I love nostalgia, and it's fun to go back to things that, bring up nostalgia. I remember, do you guys remember when the little miniature NES console came out that had like 200 games? This was 3 or 4 years ago, and it was like you were trying to get one. I would wake up every morning at 3 a.m. and go to like stand in line at a Target to try to get one for my wife because it was right on Christmas time. And I finally landed one of these things, and I was so excited. And when she opened it on Christmas, she was so thrilled. And dude, we hooked this thing up. We sit down with our original Nintendo controllers that it comes with and all this stuff. And then like 2 hours later, we're like, well, that was a good trip down memory lane, but these games are old, and guess what? They're not that fun anymore, man. Like there's a reason that gaming has come a long way. And so I find it hard to believe from a business aspect that this is a good idea for GameStop. Like, I will say that I am a fan of people having physical media. So, we're getting into the digital world, and, there's these companies that are saying, hey, you don't actually own this game. We're just letting you buy the ability to play it, which I think is bull, at that point. But I support the physical media thing. I just don't know that retro gaming is that big of a market. And the other thing in this article is that they mentioned some of these older games, and they were saying, dude, like this one game, and I can't remember the example they gave. They're like, this game's $120. Is there any nostalgic game that's on Nintendo or one of these older systems that you would pay $120 for?
Well, Josh, let me introduce you to a little something called emulation.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other point.
That's the problem.
That's what I mean. You know? And so it's like, if you want to play an older game, guess what? You can do that right now with very little effort.
You can do it in 8 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah. And have like thousands of games easily.
Yeah. And I get that the legality is murky there. You know, and I get some people don't want to do that. I love retro gaming, and I love going to Bookmans. I don't know if you guys have ever checked them out. They're like 30 minutes from our house. They do sell a bunch of old games because they sell old books and movies and DVDs and stuff. And I love browsing their gaming. But at the same time, like, I can't imagine there's a huge market. I would almost understand it more if GameStop was leaning into, we're going to host tournaments and everyone, we're going to be playing Smash Brothers Brawl. And we're going to do this 64-person tournament, and the winner is going to get a couple $100. That to me makes a lot more sense than just trying to sell like old Super Nintendo cartridges. Like, I don't know that there's going to be much of a market.
That's the hard part. And they're going to be, I mean, to go nationwide on such a niche thing where, like, I mean, we're going to have one. We got one that's coming up in Tempe. I looked it up. So, yeah, for them to put that many around for I mean, I don't see any youth or anyone going to spend, you know, $250 on a Sega, you know, so
no,
you know, so it's just, yeah, it just seems a little, I mean, it's neat and a good idea, but I like that idea of yours, Paul, like hosting some sort of retro tournaments, you know, that they can do to people play to get in, you know, or pay to get in. I mean, but.
And then sell food. Honestly, like,
yeah,
a lot of these places should just lean into that. Host events where everyone pays to buy in, sell food, and you're probably going to make more money than just trying to sell. Like, how many people want to buy A Link to the Past on Super Nintendo?
Right.
Like, I can't imagine.
That's kind of my point, is that it sounds good in theory. I think we all kind of go like, oh yeah, like nostalgia, retro gaming and stuff. And I know that there's people out there that absolutely love retro gaming. This is not a slam to them at all. I just mean, I'm not sure there's a big enough market for this. It's almost like they need to lean into the, hey, we have physical media. You can buy any game and it's yours. That would make more sense to me, which is, I mean, let's be honest, that's kind of what GameStop does anyway, you know, versus like Steam where, hey, I don't own any of these games, you know, technically. So I get it, but I just think that might be barking up the wrong tree. And the only thing that I caught in this article too was that they say that they're not really sure that they're going to be fully dedicated stores. As a whole, like I'm sure there may be one or two or something like that, but they kind of hinted that maybe it's just a corner of the GameStop where they say it's like retro corner or something. And that's where I'm like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. And this was just an article to kind of drum up hype for it.
Yeah, to me, that's almost dumber. Like, make the whole store look like it's straight out of the 80s or something. That would actually be cool.
Yeah, like the GameStop in the mall, you know, back in the midnight release of whatever game. Like that I could get behind.
The other problem is everything gets remastered and remade anyway. So that's another thing kind of working against this kind of model. I mean, I love GameStop and I'm rooting for them, absolutely. But this one, I don't know. I don't know that it's going to have a whole lot of success. All right, well, I think that wraps up everything here for this week in gaming. Like we mentioned earlier, please remember to swing by our Patreon page over at multiplayersquad.com, where you can help support the show. You can find us on socials everywhere at Video Gamers Pod, and make sure to rate our show 5 stars on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much to everyone out there for listening and following the show, and until next time, happy gaming.
Hey, everybody, get on our Discord and go say goodbye to Paul.
Yes, absolutely. If you are not on there already, then this is your reasoning why.
Yes.
There you go. And I will say thank you. And I'll still be around on Discord as well. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right. See you, everybody.